Hi everybody.
Hi.
Name is Chris Luswata. I was in Budo Junior School from 1968 to 74, P1 to P7. I was in Green.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Akavinjans here.
Few.
Okay, good. I was a prefect of Barlow House, which is room 8. And then I went to King's College Budo, 74 to 81. Should have really been 80, but we were the first year that did our S6 in what?
In March.
March.
S7.
Yeah, S7 college. Yeah, we were the first ones to do it. I don't know if the story has been told how it came to be.
I mean,
It's also a very interesting story.
we should start
It had to do with the the war that also me. And in that process, actually, I ended up sleeping inside as official.
We need to look into that.
Officially? Yeah, absolutely. Because Australia, House of Africa, were moved to the Gulf End for one minister term. But I'm supposed to be introducing myself.
We shall circle back to that.
I think it's one of those episodes that's very interesting to tell. And it was the climax of our time at Budo. Very difficult time. And a lot of the stories people tell, I think that period was very unique. It was a transition and so on. So I was in Budo, King's College, I was in Australia House.
Australian.
I played cricket, and I was the chairman of the school council. And I think I participated in everything. If I can put it that way. So, and after Budo, I think for the first 10 years, I had a number of siblings in Budo. I think in my family, we were about over 3 generations, around about 19 through.
Wow.
So I have kind of died my own Budonian kind of attitude. I always looked forward to go to Budo, even though I went to boarding school when I was very young.
Yeah.
But I'd seen a lot of Budonians, generations before me, and I just admired them. I admired everything they did. So I was very happy that I managed to go to Budo and to study there. And I've stayed within the Budonian community in Uganda and everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm very pleased to be here and to share in you anecdotes that people have to share.
Oh, fantastic. Welcome.
glad to be here. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Philip George Longo Senleta. I went to Budo from 1992 to actually 1998. Like he said, in my year is when they regularized the S6 year. So we had 2 sittings in 1998. One was in March, one was in December.
In 1998.
Yes, that's when they regularized. So all of you afterwards came and found the 6 years standard.
Yeah.
I was in South Africa House. I was the prefect, and I took part in quite a lot of things. But one of them I clearly fondly remember was being in the fellowship, the contact choir. And that evening fellowship on Saturday and Sunday was such a good experience. It really is my best memory of King's College, to be honest. But yes, I was in sport as well. I was the chairman of the Prefects Council, Disciplinary Committee of the Prefects Council.
DC of the DC.
Yes.
The DC of the PC of
I had to handle a
KCB.
lot of
KCB.
I even remember handling my own cousin, man. It was serious. When I left, they actually expelled him. When I was there, he was suspended, but when I left, they actually expelled him. But I don't think he took heed. But yeah. What do? I am a servant in the electricity sector. I renew electricity. So that's what I like. That's what I like to call it. So I work with UCL, but I'm also on the side. I try to do other things. I try to mentor young people. I try to. I'm also in the Budo League now. I play football for the oldest here, which is accumulators. And we actually want to encourage all of you here, members of accumulators. Chris, Julia, come and be our goalkeeper, Solomon, the linesman. I also serve on the executive of the Old Budonians Club. I'm an outgoing decade representative for 91 to 2000. Now I'm the mobilizer, assisted by Bruno. We're just starting the new term, but I'm glad to be here. I'm also glad to be associated with King's College Budo and Kabinja actually. We are now about five generations. My great grandfather was in Budo, my grandfather was in Budo, my father was in Budo, I was in Budo, and my sons are in Budo. So, so I'm glad that it's continued. Hopefully, by the time they grow up, they will also have somebody. And not to be proud about it in a bad way, but to be proud that we are who we are because of King's College Budo and Budo Junior. Because my father was also Budo Junior. So, yeah. So yeah. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be the first time we're having a female president. We're gladly serving under our female president.
Thank you, James. Wow, the same
We know where to see
legacy.
the records. We
So
know
there
where
are
to
archives for us to look through. I think those ones will be interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot. Solomon, you're very keen on these archives. I want to look in yours. I think there's a lot to discover
Clean.
there.
It's 2 pages.
Yeah.
Somebody sent in Salaman.
Oh, he said it was official. He said it was official.
No, but we need to know this.
Your time.
I think before we dig into the house parties, the roll calls, the academics and mess and whatnot, I want to hear what happened that you ended up sleeping in my beloved Samaganzi.
All right.
What happened?
No, well, you got the privilege of having the Australian stage. What happened was the war started in 1978 when we were doing our S4, and it was quite disruptive, but it was still far away because they fought all the way from the border all the way to Canada. So by the time we did the exams, they hadn't yet got to Budo. But what happens is Budo, is a strategic hill.
Yeah.
You can see everything that's coming down from Masaka Road. So it was a unique place, strategic place for them to place their camp, their garrison or whatever, the Tanzanians. And when the war was over, they decided to stay there. It's a secure place, and so the school had to start again. This is 1979. And so we went back. Actually, we even came for first term. There was no study, okay? Yeah, because of the road. Then when we came for second term, the army, the Tanzanians were still located at the girls' end. There's a bit of space even outside Gasta and so.
The spa.
Yes, so they decided
We see the
that
French leavers.
you cannot have the girls at girls' end.
Yeah.
So what they did was, at our time, the ratio of boys and girls was something like 1 to 7. There were 7 boys for
Yeah.
you had very few girls. So all the girls could actually fit in Africa House.
Wow.
So all the girls from Sawaganzi and Grace.
A lot of girls then could fit in one house.
Yes, when you think about it. Well, to begin with, the school had around 600 students. Let's call it 7 so that we can have the figure to play with. And of those 700, something like 600 were boys and only 100 were girls. So they could actually all fit into Africa House. So all girls went to Africa House, and all the S1 boys. This is the year of Mike Chibita, Edwin Dauke, all of those boys, because they are the small boys, they were all put in Australia House. Okay, so Australia House, all the boys in Australia starting from S2 were moved to Sabaganzi, and all the boys S2 up to S6 who were in Africa were moved to Grace.
Wow.
So that's where we lived for at least a term. I think it was around about a term or just over. And I got to appreciate Budo. It's very can I say weights and so on. I did realize actually how difficult it is for the girls.
Yeah.
Because I'm old enough now to make admissions. While we were in Sabagas, I did not attend any lessons in the morning. We used to have walk in the morning, go and have breakfast, come back, do it for your books, then go for the lessons and so on.
There's no roll
It was
call.
another story I'll tell. But anyway, the thing is, the first 3 lessons, we were just waking up and dawdling around and so on. And then you go, the first 3 lessons in the morning. You didn't have the we got up and go and do those lessons. You are just 5 even. To be honest, the school was also quite chaotic at the time, and so not enough teachers and so on. So you would only go at break time because you have to go to the market, which was round about Nigeria House. Go and buy something to eat and so on. And because you've walked all the way, you will go and attend the 2 lessons in between break
and lunch.
Okay? Because, for example, what you do, you go and have coffee at your friend's place in Nigeria House and so on, rather than walking back. And then after lunch, because you've got an opportunity to go back down, you don't come back for the lesson.
Oh my goodness.
So the point I'm trying to make is, I think the girls have had this. Well, I guess they adapt to that. You have to do a lot of walking and so on. I've heard recently that they wanted to rearrange the schools in such a way that some of these shared facilities, like the dining hall, is somewhere in between girls' end and boys' end, so that is I have to see less walking. But that is basically the story about how it happened. Of course, there are so many other stories relating to that period, because if you have a garrison of army men, the base girls' end where we were now, it means that a lot of school rules were flaunted. We could actually go to town on Wednesday, on Tuesday, with permission. Yeah, because just as Sergeant Casper has told us, there is a national theatre, Tanzania National Day, and they are celebrating. You as the headmaster, and you say, I'm not allowing my students to
When you have a garrison on the
Yeah, the Tanzanians had their sway and so on. We actually didn't even have a headmaster at the time. We had an acting headmaster.
Hey, God.
Yeah. I was at Budo. I went through 3 headmasters actually at Budo. But that's the uniqueness. I don't know how many other people would have that same thing.
Oh yeah, we also had three. We also had Portland.
3
Yeah.
headmasters.
Yeah.
This was during the period of
86.
86.
Oh, the war.
No, we actually had 2 full, Bauba
And one
and
Mr.
Busolo.
Busolo, yeah.
But
Mr.
Mr. Kamhanda was
And I'm
acting.
talking about
And you.
yeah, no, we
I'm
had
talking
2.
about
We had
full
2.
ones. I joined when Machanda was the headmaster.
found him
Yes,
there.
yes, I did when I was in S1. Then he left and Euroworth came. And then Euroworth left. So I can make it 4 if I have to compare with you. Then we had an acting master, Mr. Ampachi.
Okay.
He's the one who actually has to run the gauntlet with most of these guys, the army men and so on. And then Bauba came. So that's the brief story about how we ended up staying in
Extravagance.
Savagans.
Now it makes sense. We were worried there.
Just a question, Chris. I thought you.
There was no roll call in class during that time?
And it's not really clear. No.
So
We
no
used to
one
have
would know
roll
that.
call on Sundays in the evening.
Yes.
And that's a tradition I even found there when we joined. Actually, when we joined in S1, I remember very well, you just needed your house monitor to give you a leave sheet to go home on Saturday.
Hey,
On Saturday, your monitor gives you a cheat. You go to town. You used to normally go through Kasenge or Chitemu or the main road and so on. You go and you come back, and that was it. When they toughened it up a bit later on, it had to be the housemaster to give you the what. But it was assumed actually that you want to, on the weekend, you want to go home.
Yeah, but there was a bus. With us, there was a bus.
You know, we came when the bus had kind of, had problems and so. But we didn't even have, by the time we got to S3, uniform was optional. Why?
There was a bus that did what? What did the bus do?
The bus
Like,
used to, the school bus.
The red jet.
The school bus. It would take you on Saturdays, and then it would park at City Square, and you had to be there by 5 or 6.
Yes.
on any day,
So
No,
or
Saturdays.
any
So
class.
Saturdays,
Saturdays.
it takes you to town, you go and do
Saturdays.
what you want to do, and then you come back and it brings you
It drops you at City Square
Anybody can
and
go.
picks you at
Yeah,
City
anyone.
Square.
You're allowed to.
Anyone.
You want to
Permission
get a
though.
leave chat.
Yeah.
Get a leave cheat. We used to call them leave cheats and so on. When I joined, punishments like porters are not there. You are for very severe bad behavior.
And
We had
Porter meant, I think, carrying maram.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we used to have what they used
To fill in
call
those,
the rates.
You know,
Remember the rates?
in the
What's that?
quadrangles,
Yeah.
they were not cemented and paved. It was mad.
Writing
So-
X in
X in
graph.
very small graph.
Where?
That was a serious punishment.
Where?
These were inherited from the Bazungus. In fact, we joined just when the expatriate staff are leaving, and you are now
Africanizing.
the Africanization and so on. So you moved from a situation whereby you had an abundance of teachers who had masters from Cambridge, from Oxford, from whatever. Most of them were also missionaries and so on. And then all of a sudden, you don't even have enough teachers. Okay? So I had a chat with Mr. Mpaji, who was the deputy, and also interim when Chandra left. And he said, and the board of governors, the parents, all still expecting Budo to be performing the way it was. But these are also the times when even feeding students was a problem. Forget about schools, even at home. People used to eat posho and you don't even have enough of it. You don't take sugar, you don't. So even uniform, that's where I was talking about uniform. The materials which made the uniforms had to be imported. So if you couldn't import, it means that there's a shortage. So people had that excuse of, we don't have them.
We haven't imported yet,
We
so.
haven't.
But can I ask you a question? When we were in S1, we were being taken around. They showed us a place, there are over 50 Libyans buried there. Was that true?
50, I think
Budo?
it's an exaggeration.
Yeah, had the girls in.
Yeah, I think it's an exaggeration.
Libyans,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
Because there are not Libyans who were killed and so on, and probably they could have brought them and decided to put them there. But to my knowledge,
Yeah.
from official circles, a lot of the bodies were actually sent back.
Repatriated.
Yeah.
Okay, but
But
there was
Libyans
definitely a
have been
place and it was flowered.
Yeah.
A mass grave. I mean,
Which part of Girls End is
oh
this?
yeah, so it
Behind-
shows you guys were
Behind
not.
Gasa,
When you use that
where we're
word,
putting the golf course.
yes, that's it.
Yes, indeed.
We're
Absolutely.
going to play golf over people's bodies.
They have moved.
No, they were not moved.
The group. The group has
They were not
That's
moved.
true.
Because in 86, when we were being taken around, it was very clear that this is where the mass grave was. Yeah.
No, 50 until.
But
50 might be big,
So you
right?
may not know actually what happened, but
Yeah.
I think even 50 could be the number.
Really?
How many people can die during war? Really?
Yeah, yes, but those people
Some
were
were
sent
taken back.
and they came, probably they brought around 300 of them. They came to guard the city. They were, Amin managed to convince Gaddafi that, by the way, I still can board the fort, and if you send these people, they'll be able. Unfortunately, they came in the dying days, in fact. Just when most of the army had even already was in disarray and they ran off. I live, and most of my war was along Entebbe Road, so we did see them and whatever. So they didn't go very far from actually town. But from official circles, I did hear that most of them, they could have initially buried them there and then taken the bodies out and taken them back, but they certainly did.
What was your experience of Lights Out? Or Lights Out came way
Okay. I don't know whether, in fact, I'll be permitted. I'm very anxious that I must give the Kaminja story.
Let's balance the table.
But because they're just as interesting stories about Lights Out in Kaminja as it was in King's College. In Kaminja, we start off P1 when you have a metro for P1 and P2 only. P3, you start becoming independent, although you still have to go and bathe with the what?
Metro.
With the matrons. When you get to P4, you're supposed to be independent. That was the time we started deciding when we have a bath or not, to get a lot of light,
Bath or no?
whatever, and so on. So, but Lights Out, when you are young, when you're in P1, you always wanted, your Lights Out was just when the people in P4 to P7 are going for prep. Prep used to start around 7 o'clock. We used to have to go to bed around at that time. So we looked forward to the day we are going to go to P4 and you are able to do what?
Have your freedom.
To prep, because the P4s and so on will be passing by your house, they'll be knocking down. "Mwebake mukule." So basically saying sleep and what? Roll. So I can never forget that chanting. So that lights out was compulsory and it used to be posted. So when you got to around P4 and P5, in P5 especially, I remember we had a dormitory, Makai, those who know the junior school. The beds used to be actually lined against the wall. And then right in the middle, there's quite a reasonably big passage. We actually played football. In that house, we used to use torches and so on. You put your suitcases around. Actually, it's like a bit like we are now.
Yeah.
So that side there would be a bed which has a goal there, and then you have beds all over there. Then we put our metal suitcases. We put them underneath there in angles. So if you kick that ball, it can go in that angle, it goes there. But we basically used to play football at night. And that was one of those things I can never forget. And then you always had somebody who we used to call Madoa. Madoa means, we used to say Madoa, my light. The person who reads at the door is the one who switches off the light. So we used to call them Madoa, my light. Now that person also used to be the one who would play what we used to call farm. Farm used to meet. When you turn it around in Uganda, farm the other way around is Mufa. Start playing football.
Same slang we used.
They said in danger coming. All this guy Madoa would have to do dive and say Mufa farm. So everybody
Would dive.
dive and so on. Of course the teachers have learned all these things and so on. So they will come in and do some people have to we had to do the days where a teacher
This man is like
when he catches it didn't have to have concrete evidence. So even if you do what, you say son, I said okay, but still you have to go down for some cage. So and then Lights Out was a time for stories from all over the country. Every part of the country. And then, especially as you started growing adolescence, now you're around about P6, P7. We had our stars, boys who used to tell us stories which were a bit above and so on. So that was also part of Lights Out. And that continued actually until when I went to King's College. We had three different times of Lights Out or going to. You had the first drum. So we had first prep, second prep. Now after second prep, there was what was used to be called third prep. Now that was for people in senior block. We used to be divided into S1, S2, S3, junior block.
Yes.
S4, 5, and 6 would be senior block. I don't think they have the luxury of doing that these days. They just, I think, throw everybody in. We had enough space.
The numbers, I don't think would allow for that.
Yes. So we used to have that space. I remember I had a brother, he was in S6 when I was in S1. But to go and see him even in senior block, I went to sleep, not to see him even. That was how much we looked up to them and so on. But so they used to have what was called third prep. You were allowed to read for, I don't know whether it was just an extra 45 minutes and so on. Between second and third prep, we used to have the house meetings once a week. You go into your common rooms, where normally the table tennis table would also be, and you have prayers and any announcements to do and so on. I think in my memory, the only hymn we used to sing was Stand Up for Jesus. That's the only one that Australia has, and everybody would sing very loudly and so on. Then you have to go to sleep. But as I said, the times we were in Budo, even Lights Out, people would find somebody who says in Australia, somewhere in Africa.
During Lights Out?
Yeah,
Who is
it was very loose.
It was very, very loose. And then we ended up, we had people who used to eat fire. Now, those who eat fire is to read. To read late. Those ones would go into foxing and what? Pray. So they would basically eat into our Lights Out. Lights Out, otherwise, again, it was a very, can I say, boisterous kind of activity. We had a lot of storytelling and so on. We also had, I would say, particular activities which would have to take place very early. And the sub-lamp has become very important. But lights out itself was a very loose thing in our times.
I mean, you
I
had
think
soldiers on the
when
hills.
Mr. Mauba came by, yes, it changed. In fact, he had to do a lot of changes.
Yeah, it was, yeah, actually,
Just to bring back all the lens which were handed from. It became more important if you're found walking around at night. Normally, it's the prefects who had that liberty before you left and so on. Yeah.
I see some expressions as you were saying some of the things.
Yeah.
Were like you were in a different Budo.
Technically different.
Yeah, I would say I think
I was about to ask, what was the effect of Arusasa on lights out? Was it
the what? The effect of
Arusasa, but maybe
He can't have known
I
her.
think
No,
Arusasa
not
is-
Arusasa was around that time.
yeah.
And it was a group of boys who were in Mutesa house. They had like, I mean, in Aya we had Medusa, was it?
Medusa, yeah.
Medusa. And then there was a group called Arusasa.
what were
It
they
was
doing?
like a gang of guys who come together, they bounce and feel dangerous in the school. So it really, it was about bullying. Really.
Did they feel or they were actually dangerous?
They were.
Come on.
more
It's once you get out, that's when you realize actually it was just a threat.
Yeah.
But it's once you're there, it feels oh gosh, I can't be near that guy.
Arusasa.
When we joined, we used to hear horror stories about that group, and we're like, I hope they don't revive it or something like that. It sounded like there was such crazy guys. It was scary to even. I think they used it to intimidate us, really. Because if you say it was just scares tactics, they must have just been using it to scare.
It must have.
Especially boys' end.
I think talking about such a class
think-
of people, during our times, there was this thing. Okay, on the first day when you join Budo, there's that assembly for prefects. So during that assembly, they tell you, yes, prefects orientation. They tell you when you meet anyone in a red tie, you have to stand and let them pass. so every time, imagine, each time you meet an A-level student, you're going to keep standing. And when you get to class date, you're going to find out that this is a prefect. They will call the prefect, this student has come late, and this is the same exact person who's going to have to punish you. It was so, I didn't understand the whole essence of that. Is it intimidation?
Structure,
Is it
authority.
a culture or a kind of training?
You had to grow into your class. The way I guess they were saying in Budo Juniors, you told us mwebake mukule.
no time will come.
Your time will come.
During this prefect's orientation, there is a way prefects would love to just intimidate you. Like, you leave that room, it would be at night,
Mm.
and yeah, it would be at night from like, I don't know, 7 to whatever time.
To end of prep.
You leave that room and you just can't look a black skirt into their eyes. Like, you can't. When you see them, you have to give way. They've told you if they see you, even just touching green grass, like touching it, you're going to end up cutting the grass with a nail cutter. Like, how am I going to do this? So I tells you, I find you doing this, mostly the sports prefects. I'm made to make you scrub the stone walk
Using
with
a
your
toothbrush.
And like
That's
you're in
normal.
senior one, you're just 12, and you're looking at these big guys in their black trousers and skirts, and you're like,
Yeah, I
But
agree.
over time, we grew to look at it the positive way. You'd also want to
get there.
get to that stage. You don't just look at the negative bit of
I
it.
think it was really, it's just a culture of respect.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
We didn't have it, I didn't fear these people, but there was a lot of respect
Yeah.
for anybody who was
Above.
older than
Older.
you and so on. Of course, with the S2s, there was a bit of friction. Because for them, they also wanted to throw their weight. But almost everybody else was, what? You just had that respect. But you mentioned something that I think is very Budonian, and it's about the brass. When we went crossing the
The quadrangles.
Or and it's born out of the quadrangles are a major, it's a traditional part of Budo. It was the original quadrangle, which is where Mutesa House is at. So before the new school was built. But the rule about not crossing the grass has always been there from time immemorial. When you read even most of these books, the history of Budo, one of the things, even Budo Junior School, one of the first things the new headmaster wanted to do was to plant grass. There must be areas of grass which you do not walk on.